Right, the valves need checking out. I've already popped off one exhaust, so I'm going to check this inlet. I'm not going to go through all four with you because it's all much for muchness. So we'll take off this inlet. Just give it a little tap first of all to encourage it to move. And we need our compressor. I'll just wrestle with for a second till we get it in place. Right, now I've no idea how much of that you saw, so let me just turn you off and double check. Right, you saw enough of it to see what was going on. But it's a very simple valve spring compressor. You've probably seen loads of them before anyway. So the collets are in here, which we will now attempt to remove. Which, as usual, because on camera being a pain, but anyway. Come on. A magnetic pickup tool is ideal at this point. There's one. Just have to move that slightly. There we go. 2. Release the pressure. Move that out of the way. Just check you can still see what's going on, which you can. Turn that towards you slightly. In and out of spring. Top collar. There is a bottom collar, we'll come to that in a minute. Right, so the old-fashioned way of checking your valves, and I'm very old-fashioned. Let's just check you can still see that. Yep. Just to lift them off the seat very slightly. The correct one, of course. And then wiggle them from side to side. Yeah, very small amount of play there. Nothing horrendous. There's our valve, quite a lot of carbon build up on the back, but you can still clearly see the seat, which is even and wide. So let's try and get some better lighting on that. Let's move you down and across. Let's see if we can light it better. Yeah, that's a bit better from that angle. Right, so just show that again. You can see the edge of the valve. I'm going to go and clean that up in a second, bring it back and let you have a look. There wasn't much play in the guides. And you can still see the seat quite clearly in the head, although it's quite mucky. There's no obvious sign of damage, just as there wasn't with this one. So again, I think we're going to be okay as far as wear goes, but let me just go and clean the valve up and then I'll show you what I sometimes use. There's the base to check the valve guides. So I'll be back in a second. Right, valve cleaned up. As you can see, it's like new. There's no sign of any real wear on that at all. Good edges still. No sign of it having suffered any damage on the seat area. The seat itself looked good. I'll clean the head up later. But that's one good valve. So the correct way of checking everything is to measure. These valve stem can simply be measured using my digital caliper, but then the guide, which is not very well lit at the minute, let me just try and prop you up with something, try and get a bit better light on it. The battery died suddenly there, halfway through that little piece. What I was going to say was, I'm going to use exactly the same tools that we used on the cylinders. That fits inside the guide. Square it up. Lock it up, pull it out, and let's go and measure it. An alternative method is to use a ball type insert rather than the spring-loaded T-shaped ones, which again fit inside the guide. Square them up, tighten them up, and then measure across the ball. Now I measured with the other spring type earlier, and let me just refer to my book to make sure I've got the right size. I've actually put the digital calipers away because I forgot I was going to show you that. Anyway, that's pretty stupid of me. Right, valve guides, bore diameter, inlet and exhaust, 7.9248 to 7.95, and they marked up at 7.94, so in fact 7.93 odd. So they're in the middle. So they're certainly well within tolerance. So the guides are okay, all four come up okay. The only thing then is to check spring length, which we shall do now. We have an inner and an outer. It's going to be difficult getting a proper reading of these. They're all reading slightly short. I think that's more a problem with the accuracy of my measuring device rather than any inherent problem with the springs. So on that basis, given the lack of wear elsewhere, unless I can get a proper micrometer from somewhere and try and measure them more accurately, because they're on a slight slope, that's the problem. I'm going to take them as being okay, given that every other part of the engine's been fine. I think any problems there is more down to the accuracy of my measuring equipment than anything else. So the next thing will be to clean the carbon off the inside of the head or get rid of all the gaskets, clean everything up and grind the valves in. And while we're at it, I forgot to mention I measured the stem and it came up as 7.86, which again is at the minimum specification. So essentially like new. And if you look at them, there is no sign of scuffing, wear, anything. They are like new. So the valves are looking good. If I find anything wrong, I'll let you know. If not, I'll bring you back when the head's clean. The head's been cleaned up. Gasket face is good. checked for being straight earlier. There are very minor bits of carbon left, but they are minor. And to be honest, with these old bikes, within a few 100 miles, it's going to start carboning up again anyway. Now they're clean. All the seats look great. There's no pitting, no obvious damage at all. So the next step is to find our valve stick. I have to buy a new one because I can't find the old one. Things keep disappearing. And some valve paste. Now, some came in the kit. I really don't think it's worth using coarse, to be honest. Just so little marking. So I'm going to try fine on one of them and just see how it comes up. So, small dab of paste in 4 places opposite each other. Get it on the seat. I'm going to have to drop this slightly because it's a bad angle for doing this. Can you still see that? And then left. Basically, I just keep lifting it every so often, spin it around a bit more. So I'll turn you off for a second because I'm going to do this for a minute or so, which is quite boring to watch, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Right, got a lovely even bead right round the valve, which is great. Make sure I get rid of all the stuff. And that seat's perfectly good, I think, now. Nice and even grey in here. You might see the odd shadow on camera, but it's as good as that. So that's that one done. So I will go and do the other 3, and then when they're done, it'll all get washed again, all get cleaned out again, make sure there's absolutely no debris, anything left, make sure that all the gaskets are gone, and then we shall rebuild it, which is quite simply the reverse of what you saw me doing earlier, taking it out. And then this can go and sit and await its reattachment to the engine when we rebuild the bike fully. So I'll get on with grinding these valves in and bring you back for something else. So, because I'm not sure how long this will be sitting, I'm just going to put a bit of assembly lube on the stem, which will protect it when it starts up, and also during storage. Lovely. So, if we keep saying so, sorry, if we turn that up like that, it's pretty difficult to show you exactly what we're doing. We have our base bring it down a bit because you missed that. That's the problem with having to move stuff about on the bench. Right, okay. We have our base. Our inner spring, which sits on the base. Our outer spring. And then we have 2 collets. So I'm just going to turn you off while I get the valve spring compressor on, because it means moving things about and it will go out of focus again. The valve spring compressor is on, and I've rearranged it slightly, try and give you a better view of what's going on. So our collets have to fit in there, so I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on them because that's how I choose to hold it in place. Lots of people say you don't need to do this, you can stick them in, but I think it's easier. And at the end of the day, I'm working on it, so I'll decide what's best for me. Right, so that's one in. You sometimes have to manoeuvre the head of the valve spring compressor slightly, which is what I just did there, because it sometimes doesn't line up perfectly square on the valve stem, which that one didn't. In fact, it isn't doing it again. I think that's got it, so if we release that, there we are, our valve is in, and then as a final check, if you look, you might not be able to see this obviously because could really do some macro lens, but anyway, you should see the collets sitting evenly all the way around inside the outer. Should be an even gap. Unless I have anything sticking up, which is not. And then as a final check, just give it a little tap to make sure we're all seated, which we are. And that's it. So I'm not going to bore you with me fitting the rest, but it's all going to be exactly the same. So I'll bring you back when they're in. All the valves back in, all the gasket surfaces cleaned up. Ready to fit. You can now sit on the shelf until everything else is ready. Not as good as having it blasted, but I think that's a perfectly acceptable finish for a bike that isn't going to be a show bike. Right, let's put it away.